with that, though, that's sort of the beginning of our little intro, and we're going to turn over now to Piper, who's going to chat with us specifically about the Queer History Project at Gloucester Community Rail Partnership. So Piper, over to you.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for inviting me to talk about the project here. I'm really excited to tell everyone all about it. So my name's Piper Holmes. I'm a Community Engagement Officer at Gloucestershire Community Rail Partnership, and we've started working on a queer history project over summer, and it's going to be continuing into the new year. And next slide, please. Oh, can I control the slides? Oh, I can. Okay, there we go. Ignore me. Before I start, I'd just like to pass over to Hannah to tell you guys a bit more about like what Community Rail is as a whole, because she knows more of the overview, and then I'm more specifically on the project that we're working on. So I'd like to pass over to Hannah quickly.
Yeah, thank you, Piper. And very quickly, because much more importantly is what Piper's going to talk about, and much more of interest, and delighted to be here and hope we can join that family group as well. It's an amazing collection of organisations, so hoping we can be added to that. So yeah, my name's Hannah McDonnell. I'm the Executive Director of Gloucestershire and Oxfordshire Community Rail Partnership. And I just really briefly, just in case Community Rail is a new concept to anyone in the room, I hope it's not, but it might be, because it often is. Community Rail is underpinned by the Department for Transport's Community Rail Strategy, and it has 4 pillars, which all 76 Community Rail partnerships adhere to in all their activity. But every Community Rail partnership has its very own flavour and approach. We are in Gloucestershire and Oxfordshire a community interest company, so we're independent. And basically, our mission is to support communities to better access rail and sustainable modes of transport. And our particular focus is on underrepresented communities and young people, and hence our commitment to sort of developing programmes and projects that really do represent better the needs and gaps and barriers for communities that often aren't heard. So that's enough from me, really. That's just our little wheel of impact. We're an impact organisation, and all I can say is Piper's making an amazing impact, and I'm sure you all at Journey are too, and that's really exciting to be part of.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for explaining like the overview before. Now I'm going to get into the actual project that we're doing. So first of all, like we are all about like creating impactful like communication tools, like leaflets and handouts that we can give people. So some examples so far that we've done are wellbeing walks around to promote mental health, and also a Black History map, which was produced last year, which we're kind of also using as a bit of a template for the queer history map to move on from that. And inclusivity, like Hannah said, is like at the heart of GCRP, and like all our resources aim to promote like sustainable, healthy travel and bring communities together to support diversity and inclusion as much as possible. Right, is everyone on Power of Communication tools now? Cool. Yes. So basically, so the LGBT community is a group that we hadn't explicitly yet focused on in our maps. So that's like where this project is filling that gap. Next slide, please. And so the aims of our project are to preserve history, do community engagement, and produce a map and a report at the end. So I'm going to talk you through like the 3 stages of the project. So like archiving the local stories in collaboration with Gloucestershire Archives to plug the gaps in LGBTQ history, because that's historically been something that we have had a gap in, and we haven't known about the history of these people, even though it has been there, it hasn't been documented very well. And for community engagement, we went to some Pride events in Gloucestershire over summer to speak to members of the LGBT community about what they wanted and their experiences using travel and transport in Gloucestershire. And we also shared a lot of travel confidence resources with the community. And then finally, I'm going to be talking to you about the map and report that we're creating, which is basically going to be a map of Gloucestershire's LGBTQ plus social groups and historical places. And just a background on Gloucestershire for people who might not be familiar with the area, we have the 2 urban hubs of Cheltenham and Gloucester, and then we have the Forest of Dean to the north, and then Cotswolds to the south, with the Tewkesbury area just north of Cheltenham. And from the outside, it really doesn't seem like we have like a thriving queer community at all. We don't have like any explicitly queer venues in the whole county. We don't even have like a gay bar. So when I started doing this project, I was slightly worried. I was like, I don't know what we're going to find here. Like, I don't know how to do this project in Gloucestershire. but yeah, like through doing this project, I found the amount that is going on in the county, and it's a lot more than I ever could have imagined. So like for me, it's made me want to stay in Gloucestershire, like as a queer person through doing this project. So my hope is that once we put out the resources and other people become aware, like hopefully other queer people will also realise that there is a place for them in Gloucestershire and they can also stay here. So next slide now, please. So our summer Pride events we did in 2024. So we went to 3 Pride events over summer. There's some photos there of us engaging the community at our Pride events. We went to 2 rural in Tetbury and in Cinderford, and then we went to 1 large urban Pride event in Gloucestershire. And we had about 150 interactions, like meaningful interactions with people regarding their experiences of public transport and community in Gloucestershire as a queer person, which has really helped like shape our research that we've done and shape the resources that we're producing. And like obviously a key ethos throughout all of this has been making sure we do what the community wants, like obviously because I'm like a queer person myself, but engaging like the rest of the community and making sure that as a whole we know what's going on. So yeah, we've been engaging with groups and individuals throughout the community to shape the work the whole way. Next slide, please. So the key aims of our map that we're going to be creating are to inspire and instill confidence travelling by rail, increasing knowledge of locations where LGBTQ+ people in Gloucestershire can meet and socialise, and showcasing the travel information on how to access these places. And yeah, encouraging queer people in Gloucestershire to recognise that there is a community here for them and that they can stay. And raising awareness of historic LGBTQ+ locations in Gloucestershire, such as bars, clubs, or notable places that LGBTQ+ figures have lived. And increasing an understanding of the deep history of the community and celebrating the LGBTQ+ people of Gloucestershire and that they have a place in history here. Next slide, please. So this is an example of something that we did at one of the Pride events. We got people basically to stick on sticky notes onto a map of Gloucestershire, being like, where in Gloucestershire do you think has a notable inclusive place or something happened here? So far we've got 10 meeting groups that are confirmed to be on our map, 9 notable historical people and 4 historical locations. And basically with the places that we're mapping, we're making sure that we have links to transport and links to train stations. And that's going to be showcased on the map. So yeah, we've even found some like rural groups popping up, such as like Queering the Y, which holds like social groups and events in the Forest of Dean, which is really, really good. And even like there's like a Rainbow Cuppa, like it's just a little coffee morning in Wootton-under-Edge for people to socialise in like the South Cotswolds area. And there are multiple groups in Gloucester, including like the longest running group in the country, which is the Gloucestershire Gay and Lesbian Community. And I was really lucky to be invited to their 50th anniversary dinner. And there I spoke to lots of people about the map and what we're creating, and they all seemed like really, really interested. And it got really positive feedback, which was really good. So yes, next slide now, please. So this is my very basic attempt of creating what the map is going to be so far. My Canvas skills are not amazing. But yeah, so that's kind of a vision of what it's going to become, but we're going to be sending it off to a designer to make it more visually appealing and professional. But yeah, as you can see, like we've got the transport links to the different locations, and then a bit of information and how people can contact these groups to like get involved and like how to access them from different train stations and the bus routes that they can get from the train stations to access these groups. Next slide, please. So yeah, another thing we did was the like connecting communities, which is capturing travel needs, gaps and behaviours. And we identified some key themes when talking to people, which were safety concerns and the British Transport Police. We had multiple comments from people saying that they don't feel that the British Transport Police adequately handle hate crimes or hate incidences of discrimination and stuff. So that was one thing that came up quite frequently. And then we had a lot of comments about barriers to cost and travel anxiety and crowds and noise. And then a lot of comments as well about late night travel and a more desire for like night buses. So yeah, but there was a bit of a divide between like rural and urban queer people, where queer people from rural areas we're more just talking about accessibility in general to be able to get on transport, whereas in urban areas it was more focused on the safety and cost barriers. So yeah, and in rural areas people were saying that they felt very isolated from the LGBTQ community because of the lack of public transport. And Yeah, so these findings really support like the broader organizational goals of supporting the transport industry to create a more inclusive and diverse transport network. Next slide, please. So our next steps are to finalize and commission the map and launch the marketing campaign, where we're going to be distributing this map to people, and hopefully, that'll have a really positive impact. We're collecting stories to submit to Gloucestershire Archives, which I'll talk to you more about on the next slide. And then we're going to be doing a data analysis and evaluation of the responses that we've got from our travel survey, which we can filter by people who responded with like a minority sexuality or gender identity, and then creating a travel needs insight report to report basically on the experiences of the queer community in Gloucestershire with travel and transport. Next slide, please. And so this is how you guys can help out, which would be really amazing. So we're trying to get people to submit stories about anything related to your LGBTQ plus identity, but especially stories about your experiences on transport. And we're particularly keen for people who work in the transport sector to submit these stories. So there's the email address on screen now. So info@gloucestershirecommunityrail.org, and we'd really, really love it if you could send in a story related to your identity and how, it could be that you fell in love with someone at a train station, or you had your first kiss there, or, or you just your experiences working as a person, a queer person in the transport industry and how that's impacted your life. So, because basically but it has to be linked to Gloucestershire. So if you don't have a link with Gloucestershire, I'm really sorry. But so if you have a link to Gloucestershire in that context, that would be amazing. And we just really want to show that there is a rich history of queer experiences in Gloucestershire, because it's not been historically very well documented. And I think that's it. Next slide, please. So does anyone have any questions? Thank you so much for listening to the presentation about our project.